Most people find it very difficult to deal with change, whether it's in their work life or their personal life. The following lectures are based on the best-selling business book by Spencer Johnson, Who Moved My Cheese, and we'll discuss different ways to deal effectively with change and how change is actually a positive thing because it leads to growth and innovation. While reading the book, Who Moved My Cheese, is not required, it will give you more insight into these different characters and even more details on how to effectively deal with change. Let's get started by talking about a few of the different characters in Who Moved My Cheese, Hem and Haw and Sniff and Scurry. These characters represent the people we all work with and live with every day, including ourselves. Let's see which character you can identify most with. I think it's probably true that the only person who likes change is a wet baby. So what's your situation? Describe a current situation where you or others are having difficulty dealing with change. How do you feel about the situation, and how do you think it will turn out? Do you feel that you're afraid of change? And if you are, quickly proceed to the next slide. Do you think that other people are afraid of change? So what does that tell you? Most of us are more afraid of change than we would like to admit, even to ourselves. How do you feel when you're told to change quickly, but you don't know why? Change imposed is change opposed, which means that when you don't know why you're doing something or you're ordered to do it, most of us are going to be pretty resilient in fighting against it. How would you feel about choosing a reliable way to change and succeed in a very rapidly changing world? When you choose to change, you gain. This lecture is meant to provide you with a new and positive way of looking at change so it works to your advantage. It should give you a fun language and method of thinking that will accelerate you and your organization's ability to change. Show you a reliable way to win by doing what works in changing times. Part 1 of the lecture will include the introduction and goals, reading the handwriting on the wall in your situation and what that means, and trying to figure out who are you in the story of Who Moved My Cheese. Part 2 of this lecture will talk about how there are parts of us all in these different characters, Sniff, Scurry, Hem, and Haw, and we'll discuss how it's about a journey of loss and gain. How to imagine your new cheese. We'll do a summary and review, and sharing cheese now at work and at home. Basically, how to help others embrace change and manage it well. Simplicity conquers complexity. This means that in a complex world, the story that follows can help you see and do the simple things that work. Let's look at the handwriting on the wall in your situation. First, I want to make clear that having cheese makes you happy. The next slide will clarify what I mean by this. Cheese is a symbol for whatever is important to you, the way you do your job, relationships with other people, your health, peace of mind. The maze is where you look for cheese, whether it's within your company, community, or within your family. What is your cheese, and where are you looking for it? The more important cheese is to you, the more you want to hold on to it. Make sure it stays just like it is. So what are you holding on to in your life? What do you need to let go of? Is it an old way of doing your job or an old way of behaving? It's important to recognize that if you can't change, if you don't change, you can become extinct. You may have seen this happen to a coworker, or maybe you see it happening to you. What companies are now extinct because they weren't able to change? Well, there's Pan Am, Woolworths. Who else can you think of? Do you know that there is always new cheese in the maze, whether you believe it or not? What do I mean by this? Click to the next slide. What would you do if you weren't afraid? So what are you afraid of, and why does it frighten you? What would you do differently in the way you do your job or live your life if you were completely unafraid? And how would this improve your situation? When you're able to move beyond your fear, you can feel free. How good do you think you will feel when you move beyond your fear to find your new cheese? What changes are occurring in your industry or in your life that will help you see what you are doing is old and ineffective? Do you think you can change quickly enough to succeed in a rapidly changing world? What new beliefs about change, like "I can gain from the change," could you adopt today that would work to your advantage?